Hello, it's Sarah with Read the Entire Bible in a Year. Today we're reading day 166, and it's Job chapters 30 and 31. Here we'll see an end to Job's discussions with his three what we called false comforters or false friends. They were jealous, they were being mean to Job and accusing him of things. They were influenced, obviously, not by Jehovah, even though not many, but quite a few of the things that they said were speaking truthfully. They were slanting them so that they would point fingers and falsely accuse Job of things or make themselves sound better. Very not good friends. So here in Job chapter 30, we'll see Job finishing defending himself and standing up for his relationship with Jehovah and his integrity. I do apologize for my voice. Apparently, my lungs are more sensitive than I thought, and I went to clean someone's place, and it had a lot of mold and animal and dust, and I did not wear a mask and not been able to speak well, so I'm a little bit behind again. But I'm still moving forward. We're here rather. So let's go ahead and read chapter 30 of Job. Now they laugh at me, men younger than I am, whose fathers I would have refused to put with the dogs that guarded my flock. Of what use was their power of their hands to me? Their vigor has perished. They are worn out from want and hunger. They gnaw at the parched ground that was already ruined and desolated. They gather the salt herb from the bushes. Their food is the root of broom trees. They are driven out of the community. People shout at them as they would at a thief. They live on the slopes of ravines and holes in the ground and in the rocks. From the bushes they cry out and huddle together among the nettles. As sons of the senseless and the nameless ones, they have been driven out of the land. But now they mock even me in their songs, or they mock me even in their songs. I have become an object of scorn to them. They detest me and keep their distance from me. They do not hesitate to spit in my face. Because God has disarmed me and humbled me, they throw off all restraint in my presence. It's almost as though they feel like he's on his knees and they can just be mean to him because Jehovah's not there. Verse 12. On my right hand, they rise up like a mob. They put me to flight and put up barriers of destruction in my path. They tear up my roadways and make my calamity worse without anyone to stop them. They come as if through a wide breach in the wall. They roll in amid the devastation. Terror overwhelms me. My dignity is driven away like the wind, and my salvation vanishes like a cloud. Now my life ebbs from me. Days of affliction take hold of me. Aching pierces my bones at night. The gnawing pain never stops. With great force my garment is disfigured. Like the color of my garment, it chokes me, or like the collar of my garment, it chokes me. And that could mean that his body is so racked that it's like disfiguring himself because it's just pulling muscles and yanking them around. God has thrown me down into the mud. I am reduced to dust and ashes. I cry to you for help, but you do not answer me. I stand up, but you just look at me. You have cruelly turned against me. With the full might of your hand, you assault me. You pick me up and carry me off with the wind, then toss me about in the storm. For I know that you will bring me down to death, to the house where everyone living will meet. But no one would strike at a broken man as he cries for help during his time of disaster. I've not wept for those who have fallen on hard times, have I? Not grieved for the poor? Although I hoped for good, bad came. I expected the light, but darkness came. The churning inside me did not stop. Days of affliction confronted me. I walk about gloomy. There is no sunlight. In the assembly, I rise and cry for help. I have become a brother to jackals and a companion to the daughters of the ostrich. My skin is blackened and fallen off. My bones burn from the heat. My harp is used only for mourning, and my flute for the sound of weeping. Chapter 31. I have made a covenant with my eyes. So how could I show improper attention to a virgin? What then would be my share from God above? What inheritance from the Almighty on high? We see here Job is still being confused about who is causing his suffering. And though he's protective of his relationship with Jehovah, he doesn't understand, which he'll understand soon. Verse 3. Does not disaster await the wrongdoer and calamity those that are doing what is harmful? Does he not see my ways and count all my steps? Have I ever walked in untruth? Has my foot hurried to deceive? Let God weigh me with accurate scales, then he will recognize my integrity. If my footsteps deviate from the way, or my heart has followed after my eyes, or my hands have been defiled, then let me sow seed and someone else eat, and let what I plant be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, and I have lain in wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind grain for another man, and let other men have sexual relations with her. For that would be shameful conduct, an error deserving punishment by the judges. It would be a fire that would devour and destroy, consuming even the roots of all my produce. If I denied justice to my male or female servants when they had a complaint against me, what can I do when God confronts me? What can I answer him when he calls me for an accounting? Did not the one who made me in the womb also make them? Was it not the same one who performed us before our birth, or who formed us before our birth? So you see, Job is very unprejudiced. He looked at his servants as people. I thought that was pretty cool. If I refused to give the poor what they desired, or saddened the eyes of the widow, if I ate my portion of food alone without sharing it with orphans, for from my mouth, or from my youth, the orphan grew up with me as though I were his father, and I have been a guide for the widow from childhood. If I saw anyone perishing for lack of clothing, or a poor man with nothing to cover himself, if he did not bless me, as he warmed himself with the wool of my sheep, if I shook my fist against the orphan when he needed my assistance in the city gate, then let my arm fall from my shoulder. Let my arm be broken at the elbow. For I dreaded disaster from God, and I could not stand before his dignity. You see here, still, Job is saying, I loved God. My relationship was so precious. I did everything I could. Not perfect, but I was doing everything I could. I looked at these bad things as bad things. To be unkind to others was bad to me. And now here he is, imagining like a bad toothache, constantly suffering, where you can't get away from it. And he seemed like he was getting no help from God. And yet, the whole time he was. Verse 24. If If I put my confidence in gold, or said to find gold, you are my security, if I found my joy in my great wealth because of the many possessions I acquired, if I saw the sun shining or the moon moving in its splendor, and my heart was secretly enticed, and my mouth kissed my hand in worship of them. Like, might be like this, throw the kiss to the sun or the moon to worship them. That's one way he could have done that. Verse 28. Then that would be an error deserving punishment by the judges, for I would have denied the true God above. Have I ever rejoiced over the destruction of my enemy, or gloated because evil befell him? I never allowed my mouth to sin by asking for his life in an oath. Have the men of my tent not said, who can find anyone who has not been satisfied with his food? No stranger had to spend the night outside. I opened my doors to the traveler. Have I ever tried to cover over my transgressions like other men, by hiding my error in the pocket of my garment? Have I been in fear of the reaction of the multitude? Or have I been terrified by the contempt of the other families, making me silent and afraid to go outside? If only someone would listen to me, I would sign my name to what I have said. Let the Almighty answer me. If only my accuser had written out the charges in a document, I would carry it on my shoulder, and I would bind it around my head like a crown. I would give him an accounting for every step I took. I would approach him confidently, like a prince. If my own ground would cry out against me, and its furrows would weep together, if I have eaten its fruitage without payment, or if I have caused its owners to despair, then let thorns sprout for me instead of wheat, and foul-smelling weeds instead of barley. The words of Job end here. Not only in verse 15, in that area, not only did he take into consideration that his servants were people too. If we read in verse 15, he said, did not the one who made me in the womb also make them? Was it not the same one who formed us before our birth? So I think that's beautiful, because not only is he showing that he was unprejudiced, but he also is showing that he valued very much the child that was still in the womb, that God valued that child very much. And then also in verse 30, he said, I never allowed my mouth to sin. Basically what he's saying is, I was not allowing myself to have all kinds of random weird thoughts. He turned those impetuous thoughts away from his mind. And even in his thoughts, he was trying to keep it clean. Otherwise, it would have been coming out of his mouth. And in verse 35, we see here where he starts saying, if only someone would listen to me. When he's trying to say these things back to his friends, all these things that he had tried to say, and he's getting so frustrated. Because realistically, how do you comfort someone and reply to them if you don't even listen to them? Jehovah is the God of comfort, and he listens so he can answer in the correct ways. And they were not listening to Job or Jehovah.